What is going on, guys? We are back with another video today. We're flying solo, no Mitchell today. So what are we doing? What is the plan? Well, I was kind of torn on staying home, getting some stuff done editing wise, cleaning the boats. That's not fun. It's just not fun, and it's not fun for you guys to watch that. So woke up nice and early this morning, and if I have a day kind of to myself to play around, generally I'm going to choose to try to target some big walleyes, because if I don't get the video, whatever, right? So there's high risk of no video, but who cares, because it's just my time. I'm on my own schedule today. So that's the plan. We're taking a little drive. We're looking for big walleyes, low numbers, bypass all the small fish if possible, and hoping to just stick a couple of big ones. So that's kind of the plan today. We got a beautiful August morning. It's 49 degrees out. It's starting to feel a little fall-y up here in the Northwoods, but stay tuned. We're gonna make it happen. Short, sweet, to the point. August big walleye hunt commence. Well, we are officially out here. I always listen to a little podcast on my morning commute. How did this shift? Did this shift at all? All right. Well, she's glassy, flat calm out here this morning. And for better or for worse, I don't know what that means. But generally, if I am going to film a video, I have to convince myself that I have to provide some level of value to the viewer. We don't film just like exclusively, we really don't film entertaining content at all, I would say, especially when I'm by myself. I can't, it always surprises me that you guys watched me solo for this long, but I always have to provide some level of value. So today I kind of really want to go into, while I'm targeting some big walleyes, go into maybe 3 like absolutely crucial summer walleye fishing tips, summer walleye fishing techniques, you could call it. 3 super crucial things to keep in mind when you're targeting summer walleyes. That is a lot of times the difference between catching a bunch of fish and getting lucky and catching a fish or 2. So obviously we do a lot of like high detail, technical type of stuff on here. Today I want to focus on like 3 things that ultimately will make you far more successful when targeting summer walleyes. Now, of course, before we get into anything, we got to catch a fish to make ourselves feel good, you know, to warm the heart and the soul, to keep you guys engaged. Who knows, maybe you're just here for the talking portions of this video, but I am here for the fishing portion of this video, because that is obviously what I enjoy doing. Now, classic summertime, which we're going to get into this in a second here. We have a whole bunch of different stuff rigged up on the bow of the boat. Big swim bait, we got that rigged up. We got smaller jerk minnow and a plastic, we got that rigged up. We got a jig, which you can put a crawler on, and we got a Kalen search bait, and I have another rod back here with a shiver minnow. Summertime, they can eat a lot of different things, so it's good to be prepared. But being this flat, I may start with search bait or jig and crawler, and we'll just kind of see where the day goes. And if I'm doing this whole jig and a crawler routine, this is generally 99% of the time what I'm doing, and I really like this jig for doing this. 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce. This is a 1/4 ounce Kalen's Pendu jig. You can see the first thing about it, this hook obviously has a lot of play in it, which for fishing something slow and meticulous like this, anytime you're fishing something slow, the more movement you can provide at a very slow speed, meaning the more little stuff that bait can do to entice a bite while still moving very slow and being a finesse presentation, the better. Generally, I'll try to get it nice and straight like that. You can fish the whole thing. Generally, I'll just cut off that back tail. And essentially what we're gonna do is hunt some fish down with some Mega Live and hope to make something good happen today. there, you got it. Fish on. Feeling good. Feeling good. Man, that one was hot, huh? It's the attitude we like out of them right there. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Where you at? It's gonna be a pretty nice fish. Man, he's just coming up real slow right here. Now he's going nuts. Holy smokes, dude. Is he bigger than we think? I mean, he is running me all around right now. Come here, buddy. We just want to look at you. Where are you at? This is one of the bites we definitely want today. Come on. Come on. Oh yeah, real nice fish. Look at him. Oh my goodness, man. Is that ever fun, huh? Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Scoop. Oh yeah, real nice walleye right there. We will take them like that. Beautiful summer day. And there's a 25-incher right there. 1/4 ounce gold pendu jig. Fish in water that's a little bit colored up. Nothing crazy. Come here, bud. We'll get you off. Hooked right in the roof of the mouth. Just perfect how you want it. Look at that guy. That is a beautiful fish right there, my friends. I absolutely love fishing this way. I love catching a walleye. Anyway, you can. But if I can kind of weasel through and just sharpshoot some of the bigger marks I see, that is a good time in my book. All right, tip number 1 that I'm convinced makes a big difference when targeting summertime walleyes. Really all times of year, but even more so in the middle of summer like this. Using electronics to find fish. Now, most of you guys are gonna say, oh, I don't have forward facing. Totally fine, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about using all forms of electronics to find fish before you start spending a lot of time in one area. Why is this so important in summer? Summertime, one thing holds true. A lot of times in the spring and fall, you have fish a lot more grouped up in predictable specific areas. This is not the case in the summer. Middle of summer is a time of year when walleyes really spread out a lot. They cover a variety of different depth zones sometimes, but they scatter a lot out through different deep water areas or different basin areas a lot of times. So because fish are a lot more spread out at this time of year, summer is arguably the more difficult time most places I go to have successful days day in, day out. And the main reason for that is these fish can be very spread out over a lot of different area. Because of that, we use a lot of side imaging, forward facing, sonar, down imaging, whatever it might be to find fish before we begin fishing. If we're trolling a lot of times, if we're gonna go out and do a big trolling pass, a lot of times I'll drive around real fast with the big motor to try to find fish before I just start soaking baits in the water. If you're gonna do something like jig fishing, it's real easy to say like, oh man, we gotta go fish that hump over there that Jerry likes to fish in May. And then you get out to that spot, you begin fishing and you spend 2 hours there, 3 hours there and catch one walleye and waste half your day catching one fish. Because you're not looking at your electronics to say like, oh man, there's no fish here, or there's just a couple fish on this hump, we better go look somewhere else. Using your electronics, like side imaging a lot of times, especially if we're looking at basin, we're looking for a lot of stuff that looks like this, you know, on side imaging, where fish are littered throughout a basin, sitting out in mud. If we're looking at deep water humps, we use a lot of 2D sonar before I dump the live in and start fishing that way, where we're looking for stacks of fish that look like this. And obviously on forward facing, you guys kind of know what fish are gonna look like, something like this here. So using our electronics to get around fish before we begin fishing for them pays huge dividends. So you're not wasting a bunch of time and you're much more efficient when you're on the water. There's times in the spring where I won't look for fish before I fish for them. If they're up on a real shallow rock flat, where those fish are real hard to see up in 2, 3, 4, 5 feet of water in solid rock. In the summer, the electronics are more crucial than any other time of year to find fish and get around them quickly. Right there, got him. That looked like a big fish. Got him right there. Feeling real nice too. There he goes, there he goes. Oh my goodness, man. I took 2 casts at that. I don't know how that edit's gonna go, but I took 2 casts at that one. The first I was just off. The second I saw that fish turn, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be a good one. Sure enough, it obviously is gonna be a real good one. The way that line's going out. This is exactly how we wanted to spend our day today. Would be something if we could get a 30 out of this video. This is definitely what they feel like. Come here, bud. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. It's definitely so flat out. I have thrown a few other things. And it just seems like that jig is what they want. This is gonna be a stud. This is gonna be a stud of a fish. Come on, buddy. Oh, oh. Fish looked like it was 3 feet long when it turned sideways there to interact with the jig. I haven't even seen him yet. All right, I'm in leader here. It's looking pretty big. Come here. Come here. These things are just angry, dude. Oh yeah, she's a long one. She's a real long one. That's what we like. Can't even bring him into the boat, dude. Look how hard this thing's fighting. Absolutely ridiculous. And this is, a lot of times, big fish hunt. You can spend all day looking for this bite. Come here, you rascal. We're ready to put you in the bag. She's long, she's fat. That's what we want right there. Oh yeah, that's a fatty. That is a real fatty right there. We got him though. Oh dude, that is a hefty one. That is a hefty one. Come here, bud. I just want to show you off. Jig right in the corner of the mouth, right where you want it. Jig is off. That is a burly fish right there. What's that say? 28 on the dot right there. That is a super thick one, man. That fish was a ton of fun on a spinning rod right there. See you later, girl. Oh, angry. All right, they're cruising around looking for another fish to catch here. Another thing that for sure makes a big difference in the summer. When I think of the walleye fishing throughout the seasons, you know, you have like springtime bites, right? That pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn window of fish. Generally fish are pretty shallow. Fall fishing, you have a lot of times fish sliding back to shallower water. Those are 2 times a year where you can put on a jig and just kind of go to work, right? And you can almost leave that same jig on. Granted, you might have to put a little bit bigger plastic, a darker colored plastic, or go to a minnow. But essentially anything, everywhere you can fish can be done with a jig. 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, 1/2 ounce, whatever it might be, right? Summer, fish can be in a lot more different situations. They can be suspended in the water column very high. They can be deep on the bottom in 40 feet of water. They can be up shallow on a weed edge. They can be on a rocky point right tight to bottom. They can be on a rocky point suspended high. Because they could be in so many different places, there's so many different ways you can fish for them. So one very important thing that I always do is the front of my boat always looks like this, where I have a bunch of rods available at one time with different types of presentations on those rods. And generally I'll have even more rods and baits loaded throughout the boat ready to go. Now, you obviously don't need a rod for every single presentation, right? That's totally ridiculous. But if you want to do it that way, it does make it fast, obviously. But fish will react very differently to different things in the summer time frame. And you'll see that a lot everywhere you go. Today we're obviously fishing the 1/4 ounce jig. But I've taken several cast net fish with a search bait, gotten a lot of followers. I've taken a bunch of cast net fish with this, which is normally a really good bait for me out here, and I can't get the fish to hit the bait right away if I'm snapping it like this, or if I'm kind of hovering it up above their head. They're doing too much following. that means that I generally either need to go with something even more aggressive or something even slower. Today it seems like slower is the key, as I've cast some shiver minnows and hyper rattles at fish and have not got that same reaction. These fish could be, because they could be so many different places, and the other big thing to remember about summer is that the food is everywhere now. That's another reason that summer becomes a little bit more difficult time to catch fish. A lot of times everywhere you're going, like today, if you look at the live imaging as I'm cruising around, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that looks like this, just bait fish overload in certain areas. All that small bait that was way up shallow in the spring or spawning in the spring is now out over where a lot of these walleyes are, and it's getting bigger into that kind of walleye profiling size to eat. And there's bug hatches going on that are also, walleyes eat a lot of bugs in the summer, or they'll eat the smaller fish that are eating the bugs. There's bait fish overload in the middle of summer. So this is a more important time of year than almost any time of year for having a variety of presentations ready to go. Most of the time, I'll have kind of 3 categories of baits, right? One is gonna be the most finessey option, which is what we're doing today. Something like this, a slip bobber, a drop shot, live baity, light floaty techniques. Kind of the middle of the road presentations could be stuff like this right here, a search bait. This is obviously a bait you reel in a straight line. You can kind of pump it around and things like that. You guys see me catch a million fish on that. Or something like this, that you can kind of float around, get a little bit cracky with it. And then generally there's the most aggressive style of lures, which a lot of times is gonna be this style of lure right here. Your shiver minnows, your hyper rattles, your big aggressive lead baits. Those are kind of the 3 categories of baits you want to have with you everywhere you're gonna go, because fish they can change throughout the day. They can really be on one versus the other. And a lot of times I'll kind of go back and forth throughout the day. If all of a sudden I cast at 3 and they act super hot on that jig and crawler, I might switch over to something real cracky like this, because then I can fish a lot faster and get those fish to fire aggressively a lot quicker if they're willing to do it. But some days they're not willing to do it, like today, for example. So super important in the summer to have a variety of presentations with, not just for fishing different situations, but to key into what's really triggering fish on that day. Sometimes really lazy fish want something super aggressive. Sometimes really lazy fish want something slow. Sometimes really aggressive fish will eat the first thing they see. So it's really important to have a lot of different presentations to make fish react differently under different situations. Right there, wow. He just came flying up, dude. See how much reeling I did to make that fish bite? A lot of times you think it's gonna be a real good one here too. A lot of times you think of jig and crawler fish and you think of like just jigging. I almost have a lot better luck like reeling a lot of times. I don't think this fight's close to over. I mean, look at that thing, dude. Unbelievable power. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. I mean, that is a run, man. Let's bring you back up here, buddy. Let's bring you back up. Should get a shot at him right here in a second. Where you at? Where you at? It's kind of dirty water. You can't really tell what you got on until like he's on the surface. Is everything still rolling here? How's my mic? Everything seems to be good still. Good deal. Get my net out. Oh yeah, another nice walleye. Oh yeah. I don't know if it gets more fun than that. Light tackle, big walleyes. That is an absolute blast. Everyone today, same bait. Kalen's Pendu jig, all gold. Now this jig has a absolute sweet spot in my heart. Number one, I love gold stuff. And I absolutely love hammered gold. This just seems to be a little bit more reflective, shows up really well in a lot of this like tea stained water, and it's good in clear water. It's just one of those colors that seems to work everywhere you're gonna go. I don't know what else to say, man. We're clocking a whole bunch of big fish on a gorgeous day on the Great Lakes. See you later, buddy. Angry Angry fish. All right, another big summertime tip. And this is where I think one area a lot of us can struggle in the middle of summertime. That is talking about where fish are and getting too tied into like a certain piece of structure or a certain structural element. When you're dealing with summer walleyes, these fish are willing to float around in the water column more at this time of year than any other time of year. And that is because a lot of times in the spring, for example, right? You're out there, it's opening day of walleye fishing. You got the warmest water really isolated, like in that top 5 feet. So a lot of times, a lot of your walleyes are gonna be up in very shallow structure, tight to bottom. And you're gonna see that a lot, over and over and over. A lot of places you're gonna go in the spring. When you get into the summer time frame, especially midsummer like right now, this water temp is very uniform from the top to like 25, 30, 35, 40 feet sometimes. So the fish can roam around up and down throughout the water column a lot more at this time of year. And the one thing that means is that fish will lock down to a certain structure a lot less in the middle of summer. So when you talk about fishing, like, let's say you're on a certain lake, everybody's like, oh, the bite out on the humps is super good right now. Well, I can almost guarantee you that there's also gonna be a bite off of the humps, these main structural elements. And what I mean by that is if we kind of go over to our GPS here, you think of like this as a walleye spot. You think of this as a walleye spot. You might think of this as a walleye spot, right? They are probably all walleye spots, but it's not like these fish stayed glued to those things for very long or most of the time at all. They might be little resting spots when fish aren't feeding. And I've for a long time thought that during the middle of summer, fish do a lot more feeding off of structure than they do on structure. We always think about those fish get up on those little rock humps, that weed edge, and they just gorge and gorge and gorge. And then, that's kind of where they do a lot of their feeding. I think more times than not, these fish pull up on here and they just kind of hang out there. And then they push out in here into this mud area and do a bunch of feeding. So these fish are much more free to roam around. Now, that kind of goes back to both having baits that you can fish in a lot of different situations and using your electronics to make sure you're around fish, because these fish will roam a lot in the middle of summer. And we see this over and over a lot of places we go. Now, how do you even start, kind of trying to pattern these fish that might not be relating to that secret little rock hump that you like, right? Well, you can kind of look at an area like this. There's a lot of stuff around here. There's this little hump thing, there's this edge, this little point saddling into this, and then you got another point over here, deep water hump here. This area out in here where it's just kind of this flat 30-foot zone, this might be like the transition area between all these spots, right? You could see it's just a little bit elevated out of the rest of the basin. And in a high likelihood, what you'll see a lot of times is fish use those kind of deeper mud areas, those deeper kind of transition zones, and then they'll sit way up high above it. So basically with that being said, a lot of times you can go around the lake and say like, pick an area that's got a lot of structure. Here's a little thing here, here's another little thing over here, here's the south tip of this. Here's kind of a high spot out in the basin. Now, that doesn't mean fish are gonna be 40 feet down on that. A lot of times it means fish will be however deep they're relating to this. If they're relating to right here in 30 feet of water, they'll probably be 30 feet down over this 40-foot soft, silty area. Don't get locked into fishing one specific thing or one specific characteristical piece of structure, right? A lot of times think in much broader terms in basing relating fish. Doesn't mean you're not fishing structure or very near structure, but a lot of times these fish are gonna roam all over out in here. And the main reason is because there's food all over out in there. So one big tip in the summer, and these are always the hard ones to explain, we have some great stuff on the app, long form content talking about how I find suspended walleyes in the summer. But don't get super locked into just fishing like, oh man, we gotta get on that rock hump, get in 15 feet of water. A lot of times what you see in those spots is very slow fishing until that last hour of the day, where the fish out in here might be going gangbusters all day long on a hot summer, flat, sunny day. So keep that in mind. It's one big tip. It's hard to really illustrate it because there's no like for sure do this, do this, do this. But keep in mind that fish are much more willing to roam around up and down in the water column, out over basin, bump into structure, go back over. Their metabolism's ramped up at this time of year in the middle of summer. They're just flying around looking for food, and they'll follow it whether you're on structure, whether you're in basin, no matter where you are. one's feeling pretty good. First, I didn't even think it was that big, so I didn't really say anything. But it is getting bigger. Where you at, bud? Dude, these things are just pissed too. I mean, just angry fish, man. Pretty unreal. Summer is a cool time to fish. Fish's metabolisms are generally super ramped up. I mean, this is like a wild run, dude. The metabolism's super ramped up. The issue you always run into in summer is that there's so much food in a system. It's how do you manipulate a bait, or what kind of bait can you fish to get bit consistently? Or how do you present that bait to the fish? There's a lot more of that kind of stuff in summer. You know, spring is a lot of times like just put on a jig, go to work, right? And you know, fall's relatively similar. How a lot of times in the fall you can just kind of fish one bait, but summertime there's so many different presentations you can fish. This is a real nice fish right here. Look at him, man. He's another one of those 27, 28ers, I'd say. Go ahead and scoop you up, buddy. That's the kind we like right there. That's another long one. That is one thing that makes summer so special, is that the fish generally have to eat. It's just a matter of what can you feed them or what can you show them to kind of get them to go consistently. Another favorite part about summer, the days are long. So you get a lot of daylight to fish. Put them on the board for you guys here. Where are you at there? 27.5. We'll take it. Look at those, dude. Pretty fun morning, if you ask me. Beautiful fish. See you later, buddy. He's gonna bolt here. He's gonna get angry. There he goes. Back down, nice and healthy. This is my favorite part about the TKI mount. Pull it out. Slide that piece down. Take this part, fold it up, spin this nut, slide it backwards, lock it in, put it back in, and you can literally drive across the country like that. But I don't know what else there is to say. Productive morning. We could probably stay out here and keep clocking fish, but my time on a computer becomes very valuable at this time of year because I put it off for as long as I can. So we got some editing to do, and let's blast off. Let's get out of here. But I want to thank you guys for watching this video. You guys allow me to do my job every day, and in return, obviously, we try to provide as much value to all the viewers as possible and to everyone on Walleye Now. The most recent stuff on Walleye Now is we did one how to find suspended walleyes, kind of a deep dive in what I look for, what they look like on side imaging, sonar, all that kind of stuff, how you know your kind of two methods to doing that. The other one we uploaded the other day was how to fish hard to soft bottom transitions. That's another like super sneaky summertime location, which we spend a lot of time looking for fish. Those two videos are on Walleye Now right now under summer natural lake, and you guys will see them there under locations. So I appreciate you guys watching this YouTube video. If you guys enjoy it, make sure you subscribe, drop some comments, helps me a lot out, and hopefully my experiences in some roundabout way help you out a lot of the water. So thanks for watching. We're gonna blast off, do some editing tonight. We'll see you guys on the next one.